This weekend, Andy sleeps on the ground, Ryan fights the squirrels, and we try killing dinosaurs in a drunk simulator. I'm Ryan.
I'm Andy.
And this is Weekend Rental, episode 181. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Andy, how have you been?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, just went camping this last weekend.
Did you?
Yeah.
Family outing or just you guys?
It was all of my family. We do it once a year. Just went to my sister's house. Went camping there. Did some fishing. Kids with it.
Yes.
Caught a lot of sunnies. Played board games. Yeah, it was pretty good. It's a little windy, but
yeah, it's hard this summer. I feel like to get a day that like matches like the actual proper summer day vibe. It either rains horrendously, is oddly cold, or if it is warm, it's like 30-mile-an-hour winds. So it's just like you're fucked regardless.
Yep.
And that was so we were out camping earlier in the week last week too, and that was kind of the deal. It was like we pulled up to the campsite, sky opens up, torrential rain the first day, so we can't even set up until like damn near dark, like 9 o'clock. It finally opens up, and then every other day it was something. It was just like maybe it wasn't a bad day, like it was nice, but it was still just like way too cold for this time of year. And then we got the 80-degree day where you want to be on the beach, and it's like 25-mile-an-hour winds blowing right in on you, which I don't care how hot it is, you're going to be freezing your nips off in that. So, yeah. We did 5 days camping. And, you always like plan a camping trip thinking like, this is going to be great. But then usually by like day 3.5, I'm just like, I would give anything to just be able to take a nice hot shower and crawl back into my bed right now. I mean, in the facility we were at did have showers, so I guess I could have done the hot shower part. But, yeah. I was just so exhausted by the end of that. I had to, I'll tell the story. I don't care. I've told the worst stories on here, but I got up in the middle of the night. Last night we were there. I don't know. I woke up at like 2 or whatever. I get up to go outside the tent and take a piss. And I like step in by the door and I'm like, what the fuck? Why is there water in here? Did it rain or something? And I left the flap open. I didn't think much of it because I'm still like tired and drowsy or whatever. And I go take a piss and I come back in and then it dawns on me. Like I vaguely remember having like what I thought was a dream. I'm pretty sure I like deliriously sleepwalked, went over to the corner of our tent and just pissed in it. But I still don't know for sure. It didn't reek like pee or like urine or anything. But I was like, I need to clean this up anyway. Like, because if it was me, I'm going to feel real bad if other people are walking in. But I don't know. I can't say for sure, but that I might have sleep peed in the corner of the tent. So,
well, when you wake up in the middle of the night, especially when like you're somewhere you aren't used to, like, it's pretty easy to do that, where you're just like, I have to pee. I don't know where I'm at. So.
Right. And like, I mean, I haven't had like this happen in years, but usually it's situations like that where I'm just like super exhausted and overtired. Like I can remember my days of like hunting in my earlier 20s and like late teens. And there were a few times where it's just like, after 3 days, like getting up before the sun comes up, being out all day and then getting home late, like I would have like vivid dreams that I was out of my bed, walking to the bathroom and pissing in the toilet. And then you just wake up in like a puddle of your own filth. You're like, shit. So I that may have been what happened. I don't know. It's tough to say because there were bottles of water and stuff on the bottom of the tent too. So that's all possible. But either way, I had to fess up to it with my wife. She's like, what were you cleaning up like in the middle of the night in the tent? I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know, but it might have been me. I'm not sure. So
are you dry? How's your clothes?
Yeah, at least I didn't like sleepwalk over and just like piss on somebody's head, I guess. So. And we did have our dog in there too, then I think about it. So those are all possibilities. But anyway, really stupid story to start off the podcast. Well, I'm sorry, everybody.
What happens in the tent stays in the tent. Or
yes,
it's explained on a podcast, I guess. But
yeah.
I am so sick of air mattresses.
Yeah, we ditched the air mattresses. Now we only do cots because I'm just like I can't do the air mattress thing. So did you guys do the thing where you're like crowding like 2 kids and 2 adults into one air mattress, or did you have enough for everybody?
So no, we have one pretty big one for us, and then we used to do a small one for the other kids, but they didn't really. They would just fall off of it or whatever.
Sure.
So they just end up laying on sleeping blanket, or sleeping bags on the ground.
Yep.
Before we left, I'm like, we should check the air mattress. And Amanda's like, oh yeah, should I? I'm like, I don't know. We didn't. Got there. There's a giant hole in it. Did not inflate. Luckily, we're only like 15 minutes away from home. So I came home, grabbed every single other one that we had. We have like 3 other ones, right?
Sure.
Go down there. I think the other 2 of those also had holes in them. And the third one we had did not last all night. We had to reinflate the next day.
That's the worst too, is when you wake up like half on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does that always happen too? Like this happened to me so many times. You get on, except I haven't had the convenience of like even trying to get another one. It's just like you accept you're sleeping on the ground for a while.
Yep. It has to be like planned obsolescence, right? Because they have something in those things that just pop makes holes.
Yeah.
So you have to buy a new one all the time. They're awful products. How come nobody has made a decent one yet?
Yeah. It seems like there should be a material that's a little more resilient. But the answer probably is like to make it actual quality, you'd have to get people to spend more than $30 on one.
Yeah.
Which I don't think most people will. I'm telling you, the cot route is definitely the way to go. It adds like a ton of trunk space and like 500 pounds by the time you've got 4 or more of them. But it is so nice to just know that you're going to be sitting off the ground and have somewhere to be in the morning instead of on the ground on your sad deflated mattress. I think the worst experience we had was, I think we bought one secondhand at a garage sale from family. And they're like, oh no, it's a totally good air mattress. It was one of those double decker pieces of shit. So it had a slow leak, and those are the worst because you basically wake up like taco in the middle of the night because your ass is 20 inches lower than your foot and head. So yeah,
it's pretty much you're cuddling with your wife, whether you want to or not, because you're just stuck in the middle. Yeah.
And if that was me, I'd be getting screamed at because I'm not allowed to touch my wife in the middle of the night during her sleep because she gets too hot, and then she turns into some sort of demonic entity that, like, as soon as I make any skin on skin contact, it's just like she wants to rip off my head and shit down my throat pretty much. So it's like, all right.
And all that in a rubber air mattress is probably not the best solution.
Yeah. Yeah. I have not missed them since we ditched and got the cots. So except my wife bitches because she says the cot is too hard and it hurts her hip. So I still have to like blow up like a thinner, like liner air mattress thing for her. Otherwise I hear about that. It's still apparently better than me touching her.
I'll have to might have to go that route next year because I think I'm done with air mattresses.
I think they make because you still got a couple kids that'd be young enough for it. You can get on Amazon like these double decker like bunk bed things for tents. It's only like $70, and it's basically like 2 cots that stack on top of each other. Sweet. Or I mean, for you and Mrs. too, you know.
Yeah.
You can call top bunk and.
Yeah, that would be interesting how that works.
I have seen some adult YouTubers use them on ice house like campouts. They must be pretty rugged.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took your advice though, and I did go into Brainerd and checked out that store.
What
was the
Plane Trade?
Now. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was interesting. Definitely has a unique vibe. I don't know if there was anything in there that interested me as far as like purchasing, but that entryway, like you said, is pretty cool with like the whole like nostalgia and the mannequins and all that stuff. And I think the toys were way cooler than any of the gaming stuff. Like the gaming stuff was just kind of like whatevs, but
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe. I wish there was a little more variety because it seemed like they were only like, they're like, we'll do Star Wars, Turtles, He-Man, and G.I. Joe, and that's like it. Like there wasn't much for like in between.
Yep. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of weird stuff, that's for sure.
No, I don't know if you saw the Waterworld bundle with like the Kevin Costner action figure and a couple others like packaged with a VHS of Waterworld. And I almost bought it. I was like, this is so stupid. I need it. And then I just put it back because I love Waterworld. Like unironically, that movie is amazing to me. But yeah, the rest of the store, like I was really actually kind of bummed at how limited their selection of like quote unquote like rare or quality games were. Like they didn't, aside from just like having stuff complete in box to mark the value up, it was not anything.
No.
There was no like, oh wow. Like usually a video game store will have one or two of those, and I don't think they had any. I did see that weird Mega Drive game you were talking about.
Whatever that thing was. Yeah.
The box just like jumped out at me. I was like, oh, this is not legit at all. Like there's something very wrong with this box.
Yeah. But yeah, that entryway, I think that's like the thing that is so unique to that store. They definitely he's definitely a collector of that type of stuff and is showing it off. So that's kind of cool. Yeah,
it was pretty cool. Especially all the stills, like the signed animation stills from the real Ghostbusters animated series was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like too that there's just an apartment up top. So like when you pull up in park, I just had like some creepy lady like staring down at me like through her blinds. I'm pretty sure it was like a creepy old cat lady because like in the other window is like a cat tree and then there's like a bird thing and
oh jeez.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd on top of a video game store.
Right, it's a match made in heaven. They didn't have that arcade room on when I was there. It was just a black hole essentially.
Oh really? Huh.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. We spent maybe like 15 minutes and they're just kind of looking around. And
mm-hmm.
I don't think I'd ever been in that part of Brainerd, like the actual proper downtown. So it was kind of new to me.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird town. You can tell like it must have been something of like early significance as far as like industry, I suppose, logging and stuff. But so you have these like really old, turn of the century house things and like parks and stuff. But then it's like super run down downtown. So it's kind of, it seemed like they put a lot of care into the neighborhoods and the people were like maintaining the houses really well and the parks were nice. Then the actual downtown, they just kind of, I mean, guess what do you do? Like they just go to hell because everything moved out, but it was like almost like a mismatch.
It is weird because it's it's already off the main path of that town anyway, right? So,
right. Yeah. We needed to supply up a little bit on the way out, and I stopped at the Aldi there, and that might have been like the most insane Aldi I've ever seen in my life. Like it was. We chose a day to go into town when we were camping because it was going to rain the afternoon at the campsite, so we didn't figure there was a point. So it ended up being like Monday at like 2, we stopped at this Aldi and every spot, like -2 was full. And then they had like one checker and then like 6 self-checkouts and we still had to wait in line for like 35 minutes. It was ridiculous. I'm like, I don't know if I need pancake mix and paper plates this bad. I might be all right. So I don't know. But yeah. Cool store.
Brainerd is and Alexandria to some extent are just awful in the summer.
Yeah.
The entire city's comes up basically.
Yeah. Alexandria is kind of like that perfect middle ground too, where it's just like half from Fargo Moorhead and then half from the cities. And yeah, a lot of $1 million lake homes down some of those roads. Yeah. That Cross Lake area that we camped in is just like, yeah, you drive through and like you never see the properties because they're always just like gated community, like gates a mile before you get to the house. But it's wild. You look at the vehicles around there and the amount of money that comes up there on the weekends is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was glad you mentioned that before I went because that was a cool stop. I question how long something like that can maintain, but maybe in a building like that, it sounds so bad because I can't imagine the rent's a lot, but I got to imagine they also get
not compared to their old place.
Right. But you have to think they get like no drive-through traffic, right? Like they have to be like pretty much word of mouth or Google search only because there's no other business there other than like a shop. So
even when I was looking for it, I was confused because I'm like, that's a house.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it in there? Okay.
Yeah. It's weird. It'd be different if they had like more prominent like signage too, but yeah.
But there's nothing else around it either. It's kind of on the corner of nothing too. So
yeah,
it's weird.
Hopefully they hang around for a while. It's nice to see stores like that because there's just not a lot of those like mom and pop like truly cool video game stores. The one I feel like everything we have in our area is just, I mean, it's Rock 30, which Rock 30 is just, I mean, they are what they are, but they're not to me like they don't feel like a game store. But yeah, I didn't buy anything, but I looked at a couple things. They had a couple limited run or like strictly limited games for the Switch that I was like contemplating, but they wanted so much for them. It's like, I don't know if this game's, half the time you buy those things, they're just crap. So
yeah, they're just $2 games that, they put on a thing to make it limited. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Aside from that, like another, I guess excursion on my vacation was I was like, hey, we're not doing anything and it's Saturday, so I should go do garage sales, right? Oh my God. It reminded me why I hate doing garage sales. So I don't know if you were like paying attention to weather here. Well, you were, I'm sure. Your weather's probably the same, where it was like Friday we got nailed with all that rain, right? So Saturday was still like somewhat overcast and like windy.
Yep.
So I go out and I shit you not, like I went to 4 sales consecutively where the address was on the sign, written down on the sign. And I went to the exact address and there was nothing because people were too lazy to set up. I assume because they thought the weather was going to be bad and then they don't take their sign down. So I do this and I'm like, I just wasted 35 minutes. This is absolutely insane. Like that's my number one pet peeve is like, well, poor signage so you can't even get to the sale is bad. But when you actually take the time to like read the address and drive to it, just pisses me off. So
yeah, you better be open if the sign is up.
So basically that evolved into like me hitting 2 actual sales. I found a copy of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band for $5. That was all I got. And then after that run of like 4 houses, I was just like, screw it. And I'm like, we're going grocery shop. Like I'm over it. We're done. So I was back home with groceries before 10:30, I think even. So
yeah.
Drives me nuts.
And Saturday is so much of the time it feels like a lot of the sales that you hit on Saturday just become a waste of time because you can tell they're just like mostly empty tables. So it's like, oh, you've been open since like Wednesday and you're sold everything.
I had some lady who was like the one of the like 3 sales we actually got to go to. She's just like, well, it's the 3rd day. I'm like, why? Why did you set up all day Thursday and Friday? So stupid. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty impossible to find a Saturday only sale anymore. I think that will be my one and only attempt to garage sale this year.
We went to one while we were going out camping. Friday afternoon. The sign said opening at 4. It was like 4:03 when I saw the sign. I'm like, okay, we better go to this. This is way out of town. This is about 15 miles from any other town. It is out in the country, gravel roads. And we get there, 20 cars.
What?
A billion people there. And I'm like, what's happening here? This is amazing that there's this many people out here. I thought for sure I'd be like, I'm the only one going to be here right away. Not the case. I'm sure half of those people were there before it even opened too. So.
Yeah. Did you find anything?
I found a clock that when it, strikes the number, it does a different bird noise. That's kind of a running joke in our family. Every wedding, somebody has a wedding, they get a bird clock. and we didn't have one yet, so we joined the club.
Sounds awful. Hope you didn't pay too much for it.
No.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, besides camping and garage sailing, what you been up to?
I've been mowing the yard a lot. I'll tell you why. So when we bought this new house, it came with a riding lawnmower, right? And every time I ran it, it would run for like an hour and then it would just die.
Okay.
So it'd be like, okay, the battery's shot, right? Go charge the battery. It'd run again, finish it up. Eventually I got a new battery and then it did the same thing. I'm like, oh, so it must be like overheating or something, right? So then I brought it back in, cleaned everything, cleaned the whole engine bay basically. And then finished up, ran fine. So the last time I ran it, just blew the cylinder right out the side of the engine.
What?
Just a hole in the engine.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You didn't get shrapnel lodged in you at all, did you?
No. So I was lucky because one of the kids was like biking nearby. It's like, it's a loud bang. So I don't know what happened to that. I think it's something to do with overheating in previous things probably, and then gaskets or something. I don't know. Sucks. But we also needed a push mower for a lot of smaller stuff. I have a lot of trees to go around, and it was like, well, it's just easier to do that, right? And I have another rider lawnmowers at my other house. So I wasn't in the market to just go buy another rider. Come to find out, it's really kind of hard to buy a gas push mower now.
Well, yeah, I heard your state is making them illegal after this year. You won't be able to sell them in the state of Minnesota.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's why.
Don't worry, the electric options are only like 5 times the price. They want to mandate it with snowblowers too, so have fun with that shit.
Oh, jeez, that's going to be awful for a lot of snow. So I went to go buy a gasoline one. There was an electric one that was on clearance, a lot cheaper. I thought, well, let's try that out, right?
Sure.
Because then you don't have to buy. The thing with like push mowers, like I've never had one that's lasted a long time. You always get like a secondhand one, or you get a different one and it lasts for a season, and then the rewind is messed up, or the carburetor's bad, or all this stuff, right? So I'm like, I just don't want it. It'd be nice to not have a gas one too, because every year it's like a whole new problem, it feels like. So since this one was cheaper and it seemed the same, we went that route. Kind of regretting it now, because the batteries don't last as long as you think they would.
And did you get a couple sets with it, or like how many batteries do you have?
It's just one set. Yeah. So
you have to recharge in between every stretch you do, huh?
Yeah.
So what percentage of the yard are you estimating that you can get done on a single battery?
Oh boy. Let's see. How many charges have we done?
This is sounding promising.
Probably a 7 or 8 charges for the whole yard.
Oh my God. So that's impossible to do in like one day then. Like you need a weekend and perfect weather to get this done.
Yep. And you basically get a half hour out of the batteries, and then they charge for about an hour and a half. So yeah, it's constant mowing. Every day you're doing a different section.
So have you looked on Amazon to see if there's like generic batteries that will like fit in this thing so you can have like a small army of them, or what's your plan?
There are, but the problem with those is they're all Chinese stuff that lie about how many amps they actually are. So they'll say, oh, there's 6 amps, but they're just like 2 amps that'll last like 5 minutes in this thing. You can buy the official ones, which aren't too bad, I guess. I mean, once you figure in all the gas that you'd probably save, maybe.
Sure.
You have to assume the batteries will go bad too after a while. So there's that cost, but
yeah, it feels like you'd have to make sure you stored those batteries in the house over the winter, right? Because like if they got froze, you'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was.
So
It's just like a middle ground where I'm just like trying to limp it along until I get my other rider here, and then I have the rider, and then this other thing to
sure.
just whip around the trees.
And I suppose at that point it will do its job just fine, right? But in the meantime,
yeah. At that point, it'll be exactly what I want.
right.
But yeah, right now, it's what are we doing today, Pinky or Brain? Mow the yard.
It sucks. What brand did you end up getting then? Like a name brand one or?
It was a Works, I think it's called. It's not.
Okay, yeah.
It's nothing special, but it was on clearance at Fleet Farm, and my get a family discount there, so it was like half price. So
sweet. I like the Works brand. That's what I buy for all my cordless tools and stuff because I started out with like was it a blower weed eater combo, and then I bought like a power washer and everything. I just keep buying everything Works because then I just keep stacking batteries, so it works pretty well. They're actually pretty decently built, and I've drained my batteries many times over like the last 3 years, and they still hold, I think, about the same charge. So
yeah,
at least that should work out for you. It seems like it's fairly good quality stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm going to break down and have to buy another set because I can't mow my yard at a half hour at a time.
Yeah, it probably seems like you need to. Interesting. I've hardly had to mow this summer just because it's been, not that the grass hasn't grown, it's just that it's been so wet that like normally I would mow probably once a week, but I can't because it's just like it'll storm for 4 days straight, and then I basically have to wait till we're at the 2 week mark, and then I have to do it slow as hell because I bag everything, so it just takes forever. But
oh yeah,
could be worse. I'm jealous that you have a riding mower. I mean, not that I have enough yard to justify a riding mower. Although I have people in my neighborhood, yards probably smaller than mine, that have them that I always kind of like laugh at. It's interesting.
Yeah, at some point, it's even this one. I thought it would be a lot closer in time between the push and the riding because there's so much stuff to go around here and like backing up and fiddling and stuff. Where I thought, well, maybe a push mower is probably not going to be that much different, but it's probably twice as long.
Yeah, it sucks.
And a half hour at a time. So that's what I'm doing this summer. Or my son.
Mowing every day.
My son's been doing a lot.
Oh, that helps. I don't trust my son with a mower yet. My daughter I would trust, but I also don't want her to like cut her foot off. So she's a little clumsy sometimes. So I don't need another trip to the ER. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the only other topic I had because I was looking at gaming stuff and not a ton happened. But did you see that news on Amazon and Game Pass like partnering up so that they'll officially now run Game Pass Cloud on the newer models of the Fire Stick, which is kind of wild. Because I mean, then you're setting your entry point to Game Pass at like $50 plus a controller. So like for $100, that's pretty sweet.
Yep. You're all in at that point. You don't even need the console. I can't imagine there would be that much like difference in lag or something between that and the stick probably handles it about the same as what a console would. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, and considering how well it runs on like lower end hardware, like even my kids' crappy Chromebooks and stuff, like if you're not playing like an FPS game, you're good even on that stuff. So if you get a somewhat decent internet connection and these new Fire Sticks, I bet it's going to be a pretty good experience. The only thing I don't quite get is like, it doesn't seem like the thing that's going to bring in new people, but it seems like if you're someone who already has Game Pass, it'd be a really convenient way to just like have a Fire Stick that you throw in your bag when you're going on vacations and staying in hotels to just be like, all right,
Yeah,
plug
that's
it
cool.
in and
That's a
fire
good
this
idea.
thing up.
Yeah.
Not that you couldn't do the same thing with your phone and a controller, because you could. But
Sure. But there's something to just put it in a TV and going, I think they've had it in like Samsung TVs
yeah, they have.
already, but yeah, having this on a stick, that
Yeah.
kind of gives it a lot more flexibility.
To be honest, like it's cheap enough at that point that it might be something where I just like get one and throw it out in my garage arcade too, because I could just have it plugged in on the TV, and if I wanted to play some Xbox out there, I could easily pull it off. Yeah. Pretty big news. I mean, they've kind of been promising that stuff, and I suppose a few years ago, and they were talking about how there's going to be the Game Pass cloud streaming only box from Xbox. I think this is probably the more practical realization of that vision. And then they're not stuck making like this weird, like unique hardware. I just think back to like the PlayStation TV, which that thing was way better than the support Sony gave it. But I think Microsoft would have ended up in a similar situation had they just put out like this puck that was just for Game Pass,
Yeah. Yeah. Cause at this point, something that takes up an HDMI slot too is kind of a big deal. So if you're not offering like a wide variety of like options on that puck, then yeah, you're probably going to be out of luck.
It's too bad it's not like on Roku devices though, because I hate the Amazon Fire like interface. Like, I mean, it does the things, right? But like, it is not nearly as intuitive, user friendly, or visually laid out well as Roku is. And to me, it seems like Roku should be able to do this as well. So maybe we'll hear that that's coming.
Yeah, you would think so.
Because if they could get that if they could get an app that would just go on Roku's store without even needing the stick, I mean, there's no reason they couldn't be getting that bundled in and then have it. I mean, because you imagine every low end Roku TV at like Walmart and all those places, if that was an app on there. And maybe that's not reasonable either, because they probably need. It seems like they're only doing the higher end versions of the Fire Stick, but.
Yeah, because it'd have to be something that hooks the controller in somehow, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's true. You got to have the pairing somehow, and that's probably right. What's built into this Fire Stick, but I bet they could figure that out with Roku too and get a partnership deal. I mean, that would be the ultimate way to do it. Just to have both sides of the streaming, because I mean, you're either an Amazon Fire person or you're a Roku person, right? I mean, those are the two big. So if you cover those, it seems like you've got 70% of the home TV market at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless you're one of those psychos who still has cable.
Who are those?
I don't know. I finally convinced my parents to drop theirs after years. So
I know some people that only have it specifically to watch Minnesota Twins baseball, right? And the station for all of that got in a big fight with all of the cable companies, so they're not even showing baseball games on cable now. So the only thing that they were paying cable for is not even on there anymore.
So how do you watch Twins games? Do they have like a subscription service on their website or something?
Nope, you can't. You can't stream it online anywhere.
You're gonna build a major league fan base off of not being able to watch it unless you're in person, because that makes sense. Oh, I guess you can catch away games on somebody else's network.
Yeah,
that's
even
so
like
wild.
They MLB has a streaming thing, but they won't let you watch your local team live because it's all blacked out.
I don't understand like why they have to make it that difficult. I mean, if you're not going to get a deal, like obviously they want to get paid, for televising the game, but like there's also like you got brand deals and stuff. Like you need to get those jerseys out there and those sign. Like, and at this point, like why aren't these stadiums just doing like really good quality like Twitch streams? Like there's no reason you couldn't have your stuff set up and the broadcast and you just throw it out on Twitch. You could even do a paid Twitch subscription to like watch, live content. It seems like a problem that they could find a very legitimate and low cost loophole for.
Awesome it would be if they had just like 20 cameras set up at different angles that you could just switch
Yes.
between, you know, at
That'd
your
be
will.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And then you could like tip, like to do super chats to like get your comment to the top, and you want to like call out a player for being like a piece of shit or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems like a good idea. I don't know. The whole
monetizing
it is funny though,
harassment.
right? I mean, that's all the world is anymore. It just, the state of streaming and media is just, it was really cool when, you know, these things were just coming out, and now like the way it's just devolved into just madness, and you know, you
And
almost need a
ads and,
freaking diagram to figure out what's on where and when, and then the advertisement thing, and it's still better than cable, but I don't know.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
The way I watch baseball is like all these, like, who knows where they're coming from? It's probably like through 3 VPN filters through Russia or something that are, you know, taking some cable stream and filtering it through, and then adding a billion pop-ups and stuff to it.
That sounds fun.
But that's about the only way I can do it, or like reasonably do it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people who are getting stuff. I bet there's probably people like throwing stuff up on YouTube with like the whole 1/4 size image thing, and like trying to keep it live long enough for people to watch. And
mirrored, all that stuff. Yeah,
right. What is dwarf romantic? Is this an adult bookstore, or
you remember the character Dwarf, right? Dwarf does golf. Dwarf, no,
no, I don't remember Dwarf.
It's not that at all. But this is a board game based off a video game, which I've not played the video game. But it won like Game of the Year last year. It's supposed to be the best game. We finally cracked it open. And it's not too bad. You're taking like little pieces, little hexagons that have like a river or a railroad or a forest or something like that, and you're placing it next to other hexagons, right? You're building a map, and you're trying to match. You have different missions that you want to, you know, get your wheat field this big. You want your forest this big. You want the longest train. So you're all working together and just laying tiles. And it's like really relaxing and really laid back type of game where you can just sit there and chat and grab a tile and look at it, just put it down somewhere. And at the end, you see if you get a score. The interesting part about this, at the end of it, they have achievements. So depending on where your score was, it tells you, oh, you've unlocked this achievement. And it tells you like what you can add to the game next time. So there'll be like another section, little box of little trinkets or extra tiles.
Okay.
So every time you play, the next time you have all this new stuff, and theoretically should be able to score more. So it's almost like
unlocking in a game.
Yeah, it's unlocking different things in the game, and
well, what prevents you from just being an asshat and just like grabbing those packs whenever you want anyway?
Oh yeah, you could just dump them all right in and go right away. I don't know if you would know exactly how you'd have to read through each thing and see how they work, because they kind of add mechanics as you go, just like just like a video game would, you know, as you progress, there's new stuff. So I thought that was really interesting. I had not seen that in a board game.
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
But then that being based off a video game, it makes a lot of sense, I guess.
So then will they sell expansions to this too? So like you'll have extra stuff to add to the base game once you get through everything that you've unlocked?
It could be. I don't know if they have an expansion for this or not yet, but it seems like there's a lot of stuff. And obviously you only get the stuff after you've played one round of the game. So know, it's meant to play it again. So it's kind of like a drive to keep playing it, you know?
Sure. Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of a cool mechanic. Yeah, I actually was thinking about you in video game or board games because we popped into Five Below and they had Zillionaires on Mars back in stock at our local one, and then
Oh, really?
Target has had Zillionaires across the USA $12, which is the same game.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have to keep an eye out next time you guys pick one
Yeah.
up. I was gonna grab you a copy, but both boxes had been already opened, so I was like, I don't trust this at a Five Below. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny. We packed a bunch of board games for our camping trip, thinking like on the evenings, we'll do it, or if there's bad weather, and we were busy the whole time, never played a single damn board game. I forgot to mention too that we were increasingly dealing with organized attacks from rodents. We pulled up the first day as we're like hovered under our like canopy waiting for the rain to go away, and there's like chipmunks popping in and out, coming right up to us, and it's like, they're cute. You throw them a chip or whatever. By day 4, I came back from the swimming beach, and there was an orchestrated fucking attack with like 3 chipmunks and a full blown squirrel. They were all inside our screened in and closed canopy, and I turned the corner and all hell broke loose. I got fucking rodents bouncing off walls every goddamn direction. They're trying to get out of the way. And we'd no joke bought like these like heavy duty storage totes to like keep our food in and keep them organized. And I put the food away at night, obviously, but this is not like the cheap Rubbermaid like $5 totes. But they were collectively working on chewing a hole through the top of the lid of this tote with our food in it. And they had basically gotten through. I think if it had been 10 more minutes, they would have been all the way through and like everything would have just been devastated. But I think they got all hopped up because the day before my kids left a bag of candy out. So they ate like a whole bag of like gumdrops and like chippers and chocolate and then shit all over our table in the process. So I think like they were like emboldened at that point. So like, it's on, we're just going to screw these guys over. It was honestly unreal. Like, you'll deal with like a raccoon or something coming in and being kind of aggressive, but I've never had just like collective hive mind rodents come in like that and just like, no, this is ours now. Like they did not care. They would basically walk on top of you to get to stuff. It was
wow,
wild.
that's incredible. And knowing, what's in the tote to be like, we need to get into that tote, that's crazy. Huh.
Yeah, I was like, pretty over it by the end of that.
Probably like one day away from the raccoon coming.
Oh yeah. And then the bear. Saw a bear on vacation.
Oh.
Not in the wild, kind of in the wild. In a dumpster at the edge of the wilderness. It's still always fun to see a bear. Wild. Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Well, what is ooped?
Ootp. Oh, speaking of baseball, that's just a baseball simulation.
Is it?
So now I can't watch the Twins.
How do you? Is it OOTP?
Yeah, it's Out of the Park. It's called.
Oh,
but that's That's how most people recognize it as ootp. Dorf romantic and oopt. That's my.
Is it anything like Blaseball?
It's just like that, except way more boring and way more.
There's less spontaneous murders and like demons coming on the field.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. It's basically spreadsheets looking at things, trying to guess how it's going to go. The cool part about it is it goes back historical, so you can draft all the players from way back in the day, and you try to build your team out of, historical players, which is kind of fun.
It's cool.
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of that lately.
And then do you compete against other people, or is it like other virtual teams, and then it just like runs the algorithms? Or
there's an AI, yeah. Basically, they're way back in the day. I used to play a league with people that like you would submit your lineups and everything like that, and it was basically a full blast fantasy baseball type thing. I don't think I could keep up with that anymore, but I just play against
Nice.
AI now.
Well, I mean, it is the future, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool though. I mean, I could see that being fun. I got pretty into that baseball for a while, so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of kind of a dorky thing, but it's kind of fun to do something like that. That's just a little more like basic instead of you know everything's so complicated with video games anymore. It's just like if you want something just like stat based and no
Right.
tutorials.
Everything that you can see, and you, for the most part, you can see how everything works, right? And
Yeah.
that's the
Is there
part
like
where
an
I'm like,
is it app based or is it just like a website?
it's a Steam game that I bought it on.
Oh, it is
So
Steam.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Steam sale.
yeah, yeah. And then there's they have the whole like you can buy cards and shit like that in there, and not interested in all that. So
Come on, that's how they make their money.
exactly. You want
Well,
to move on to
yeah,
staff picks?
staff picks. I'm gonna have you go second. This is
Yeah.
hilarious because I just watched this with my son within the last 2 weeks too. Um, but I'll go with mine first. Yeah, Bill Murray's new album, not the comedian Bill Murray, the band Bilmuri. Bill Murray just dropped an album over the weekend, a new album, American Motorsports, and it is pretty cool. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's almost more country than you'd expect me to like, but it's kind of like it's a weird band because it's like metalcore, gent, pop, country. He just kind of like blends everything into these like really great songs. And he's been releasing most of these songs for the last few months, and I genuinely love them all. And every music video is basically him in a really short, like American flag T-shirt, like on a lawnmower or like on a combine. Like it's just like they're the most hilarious music videos. There's like the one, I think the first song, no, the second song, Empty Handed. He's got like a video clip insert of like Kevin James at like the NASCAR, like, gentlemen, start your engines. And then like the breakdown drops in. I don't know. It's a genuinely great album though. If you've never heard the band before, it's like pretty interesting and progressive. And he's not the only person like blending country into like metalcore and stuff and like adding chugs and breakdowns. Seems to be like kind of a growing trend, which I kind of get because at the same point, like I can't be too mad at it because if it gets people into like guitar based music, I mean, country music in general is an abomination and I can't stand it. But this album is really funny. I highly recommend watching the music videos too because they're just hilarious. And yeah, so
Can we call it like mulletcore? Is that appropriate?
Yeah, that might be good. Because the Falling in Reverse just released that country song too with Jelly Roll. And there's that Hardy band. Have you heard Hardy? I'm not going to recommend them, but I'm just going to talk about them because it's kind of in the same vein. But they have like a country-ish song that's on rock radio right now. It's called Rockstar, and he basically just lifts the lyrics from Nickelback's Rockstar song and just reuses it. And he's like, I wrote my song about a rock star and it goes like this. And then there's no lyrics. It just goes, it goes like this. And it's like chug, 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 chug. Like, that's fucking stupid. Like, your guitar riff is your chorus. And then the other part of the chorus is the part you stole directly from the Nickelback. It's the laziest, most piece of shit song. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Bill Murray is a very cool band. And this album is actually genuinely good. I would say it's almost more pop and like Southern country rock than it is true like metal. I mean, there are some chugs and like some minor breakdowns, but it's mostly just a really fun listen. And Johnny's the guy, I think is the lead singer and the guy who kind of makes all the music. And he's been around in like the metal scene he was in Attack way back in the day. And so was the guy who's the lead singer for Beartooth, which is also like another band that's kind of in this space. But yeah, Bill Murray is really cool. American Motorsports it's a good listen. I'd check it out. Watch the YouTube videos if you can, but I've been listening to it on Spotify too, and they're just all
Hmm.
really good, catchy songs.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I like their other stuff, so I'm sure.
Yeah, I just like the name too. Come on, that's a great band name. You just so amazing. But yeah, I'm excited here for your pick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This was a Tubi special again.
Yeah. Yep. Same for me.
I don't know what it is about Tubi that I just ended up on that stuff because it's a lot less paralysis, right? It's just like a warm cup of milk that you just put something on, and then if you don't like it, it's on in the background, and it just they keep going, right? That's the best part about it. They just like, here's another one.
Yep.
I watched this one like we started with Cutthroat Island. I fell asleep immediately.
Yeah, that one doesn't hold up.
Amanda really likes that one. I fell asleep, and then we both fell asleep, I think. And then I woke up, and Captain Ron was on pretty early on, and it was like, oh, now I'm awake. I'm awake for the evening, and I'm going to watch this movie. Yeah, I had not seen that movie before, which was kind of crazy.
Really?
That I haven't. Yeah, I've never seen that movie. I was aware of it, like the I was aware of the Kurt Russell weird, character in that. But I have not seen it. And yeah, he does such an awesome job in that movie.
Yeah, he's a great. Yeah, whatever you say, boss. Like, just he looks like he's an extra from Waterworld. Yeah, it's got Martin. Is it Martin? Yeah, Martin Short, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, he was probably the bigger name. They were both their heyday at that point. But yeah, I that's funny that you watched it because I did the same thing. Just like I was out of options, so I just threw on Tubi, and me and my son sat down and watched it. I was like, "Have you ever seen this movie? It's great." Because I rented it on VHS when I was a kid, like probably way too young to be watching it, but I loved it, and I rented it a few times after that. And yeah, it's a great comedy. Like, what's the loose premise, right? Is like some rich asshole guy realizes he's not spending enough time with his family, so he just quits his job, buys a ship, gonna sail around the world, and then they hire Kurt Russell as like their captain, who's Captain Ron, who wears like no shoes and has a fake eye.
Yep, and probably not very good at his job. Like he overall knows how to run a ship, but
loosely,
yeah, does not know the Caribbean very well. Yeah, plays it pretty loose, and there was so many movies back then that were like that, where it was just like one like super uptight guy, and then one other guy that is basically ruins his life. And that's what this movie is.
Yeah, and they always go too far, which is consistent with this one in like who the ultimate villain is. It's like, how did this family of four and this guy get like involved with like the cartel and like, you know what I mean? Like the big bad is always way too big for these sort of situations, but it works. The only thing that really kind of skeeved me out, like I thought a lot of the film held up. The only thing that kind of skeeved me out was like the presumably like 15-year-old daughter who was like always in a skimpy bikini, like getting hit on by like 40-year-old dudes, which is gross. Because it wasn't even like one of those castings where it's like, well, she's really 25, but she's playing like a 17-year-old. Like that was a kid.
No, yeah,
kind
that
of
was
like not great.
Early teen, yeah. That was weird. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
But I was kind of happy that just like came on, and because I don't know if I would have like sat down and watched it, but just because it was on from when I woke up from a dead sleep, to pull me for a movie to pull you in like that, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And I just like the whole like kind of like ending come together thing too, where like Ron just like pretends he's hurt to like make the family realize that they can run a boat, and then it's like instead of being pissed, it's like the aha moment to the Martin Short character, the father who is ready to fire him. And I was trying to think the son in that movie I've seen in something else. Was he one of the friends in like Little Big League or one of those movies?
Yeah, or Little Giants, maybe.
Yeah, maybe something like that. It was one of the because there was like a rash of like 3 baseball movies around the same time when we were kids. And I
Yeah, he
feel like
played
he
a
was
lot of
definitely the
those
friend in
movies.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks a lot like that kid from the Nintendo commercial, the thumbs up GIF of the '90s kid. Yeah, yeah. That movie is surprisingly good for a film that nobody seems to talk about anymore. You know what it reminds me a lot of actually is that John Candy movie where they do the same thing and they get on that like crappy beach hotel thing and end up in like a catamaran race for some reason.
Yeah.
Kind of the same ish
Yeah.
sort of vibes.
Yep. There's a lot of that premise back then. It's kind of funny. Kurt
Should have
Russell,
saved
though,
it.
I just he makes such great characters, and he's not like where he's got to be perfect, you know,
Right.
like Big Trouble Little China. Like he plays like an action hero, but he's not an action hero. This movie, you know, he plays the captain. He's not all there to be a captain.
He's definitely good at playing that guy, like not quite the like redneck, but not quite like the hero. You know, I don't know. He's a good like middle ground of like every man, like you know, like that overboard or going overboard. He's kind of that guy too, and he's obviously way more exaggerated than this. But yeah, it's funny. Like he wasn't. I mean, I shouldn't say he wasn't. He was a huge actor in a lot of like major movies, but it seems like his career really like fell off kind of around after this period of like Captain Ron. It was kind of like he wasn't in big stuff after that.
Not as the main guy. He played a lot of supporting stuff for sure.
Yeah. He was in some Marvel stuff too, right? Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great movie. We should have done that for movie time for sure.
Yeah.
Instead we're watching bad Jerry Seinfeld movies.
GK Patreon.
Yeah.
If you're having a good time with us at Weekend Rental, I think you might enjoy all the great geeky stuff found on the Geekade Podcast Network. They've got podcasts about games, music, movies, and more. Plus, if you order off their secret menu, also known as the Geekade Patreon, you just might find an exclusive movie podcast hosted by Ryan and myself. Check it out over at geekade.com. And hey, if you'd like to turn Weekend Rental into a true multimedia experience, our YouTube and Twitch channels might just be for you.
So, if you're unfamiliar, the Weekend Rental, we play a game for a given system. This time out, it's my favorite system of all time, the Nintendo 64. And, you know, with the latest unveiling of the Switch Online 17 plus for mature audiences only, we had to dive into Turok, Dinosaur Hunter. A very, I guess it was a very popular first-person shooter on that console in that era. It had a lot of presence, at least on TV and in magazines and reviews and many sequels. But yeah, the original Turok is a first-person shooter game that you, I guess, are just in a jungle shooting people and dinosaurs. I didn't really pay attention to the story. I just know that on modern controllers, at least in the way that this is set up on Switch Online, this game is virtually unplayable. Like frustratingly unplayable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's start at the bare minimum right away is that I can't believe that they put this in a separate app on the Switch already. You know, that 17 plus is a whole other download, which I guess, I mean, if you're going to do parental permissions on that, I guess you would have to do it that way. But these games are not, I mean, mature games have come a long way since then that these are hardly anything
Well, and how many parents are even using the parental controls thing and not just handing their kid like an open profile? I mean, I am, but like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't have had to.
No. I mean, when I went on the store to download this, it was the first time I went on the eShop for a long time. So I had to like remember my password and all that stuff. Then you go to like, you know, all the deals and stuff to see if there's anything cheap. And it's all like, here's my girlfriend game, or here's my
Right.
anti-collection game. And it's like, oh, we're worried about the Turok. This is where we're at.
Right. Yeah, there's more boobs and buns just in like window shopping on the eStore than there is in either of these games that they restricted.
Yep. It's way more mature to be even on the store.
I mean,
so
they have a
ridiculous.
game called Panty Fighters that you can watch the trailer for on the eStore. So, I mean, who are we kidding here with this restriction?
And maybe some of us have watched that on the eStore. Who's to say?
Not me. I don't even know how I knew about it. It's weird.
And then you add on top of the Switch, which I think, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, that like the Switch controller, the stick does not map very well to a Nintendo 64 stick at all. It's very sensitive. Turok has some weird controls already. It's inverted to start. And then I think a lot of it heavily is based off of C buttons, which the Switch handles terribly in a layout. It's I don't know why you would even put it out in this format, because I don't know who you're gonna gain. There's even the people that love this game are gonna go on there and just hate their life playing this game.
Yeah, I don't. It blows my mind that they wouldn't have just tried to remap the keys somehow. Like the ABXY should have been the C button analog, and it should not have been the stick. You could have moved the menu stuff to the right stick, and then you could have had the shoot and interact buttons mapped to triggers. But as it stands, you basically can't play this game because, well, first you have to like rewire your brain from the last 20 years of like dual stick first person shooters, which it's so hard to do because it's just ingrained in me at this point. And then, having to try to use that right analog stick as a replacement for the C buttons, and that's your main movement. And it's a game that has a lot of like really tight corridor traversals and like little ladders and stuff. And if you stray even a little bit, because there's just no dead zone on those sticks, like you're just constantly falling. And I'm talking like millimeters. You will go from walking straight to just like walking sideways off of whatever cliff you're on. And it took, like, I rage quit the first time just trying to get across that first section where you had to basically go over like a little land bridge because I just could not.
I kept falling off there too.
Yeah,
I mean that's what I mean. Like that's the very first thing in this game is like you load in the level and you have to go across this bridge, and it's as if they designed it to basically say, look how shitty of controls we have made this for you to play with. Like, I don't know how you could have done it worse.
I mean, the only thing that like helps ease some of it is that it's like that era of first person shooter game where basically as long as an enemy is on the screen in front of you anywhere and you pull the shoot button, it hits them. So that helps. Like you're not like, you don't have to like dead like iron sight somebody in, but it which would have worked fine, I'm sure, on original hardware. But even with that, like in how this is configured, it's such a mess. And it really just, this style of FPS doesn't hold up. I mean, it's very much like exploration based and tight corridors and like collect the things to move on. And that's just not what first person shooters are anymore. And I would argue that wasn't even maybe the most fun version of that at the time. You know what I mean? Like Doom had like, sure, find a key to do this thing. But when you're presented in the very first level of collect 5 of these objects that are just randomly hidden around this muddy, mucked up, all green environment, it's just kind of like this really stupid game of like find the thing. And then I guess the cool part would be that you were shooting dinosaurs with guns, which I guess is somewhat novel for back then, but a lot of the level design is just really lazy corridor stuff where they just force you through paths where they spawn an enemy behind you. So you're basically just like always walking forward until you get shot in the back, and then you turn around and kill whatever asshole just popped in behind you, and rinse and repeat. And there's probably more to the game, but I gave up on even trying to beat the first level because it was just so mind-bogglingly frustrating to play. Like it does not work. And I don't think it's a problem with the game. I think it's a problem with this game being ported off of like, maybe if you had that very special like N64 controller, this thing would play as intended. It still would be weird, but I think it would probably function. But on a traditional Joy-Con, it's just, it kind of makes me wonder why they even thought to put this on there to begin.
Right. I mean, you're already the deck is already kind of stacked against you against Turok already because it's such a weird attempt at what they were trying to do, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so many things that it's known for is the poor draw distance and the the spawning of the enemies right behind you. But it just is a and I quit in the first level too. I got a few of the key things and then I teleported to somewhere where it required you to do platforming, jumping between different pillars. And I
good luck.
They wanted me to do 5 pillars that you're jumping, running and then jumping and then running and jumping, turning, jumping. And I was done. There's no possible way to do that on the Switch. No. The people that are doing it are the same people that are playing Bubsy and 3D, and they're doing it because it's ironic to play something that doesn't handle well. And I think I could have gotten past a lot of the shortcomings of the design of the game and seen through some of it.
Yeah.
Of blasting a dinosaur with a shotgun. But the controls, not being able to control the game, just you couldn't even try.
Yeah, I agree. I think the game was probably have been like fine had it been, had I had the original control. Yeah, just like either adapt it to work in a way that makes sense or just don't. Or I guess force people to buy your $60 weird controller, but it makes me wonder how Perfect Dark is going to play then, because that's probably going to suffer not nearly as bad because I think if I remember the play style, it should be a little better, but I don't know if you played GoldenEye or anything on Switch.
I don't know I don't think I did play GoldenEye on Switch, which it's also weird that that's not in mature, right?
Yeah, right. How is that much different?
Game, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you got the M rating. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that because I would imagine they're gonna suffer similar problems. Because I can't imagine they did controls much different. I'm trying to remember. I didn't play a lot of it.
Well, the GoldenEye was a stop and aim type thing, right? A lot of times.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it wouldn't
because there was a different button that turned you into like aim mode, right? That you held down.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. I'll have to try it. I am curious on Perfect Dark. I played a bit of it back in the day, but yeah, I don't know. I get what they were going for with Turok. Like, I think at the time, the idea was kind of cool. The graphics are what they are for the era. I think it probably suffers from less cloudiness on the Switch than it would have on original hardware, for sure. But even so, like, it was just a lot of the same color tones and just not a great. It's not great when most of it's based on traversal and platforming, when it should be more about just like running and gunning. And I think even if the controls were better, this still wouldn't have aged particularly well.
Right. And one of the buttons brings up the map, which is a wireframe map, basically telling you right there that they were going off of Doom, right? Like,
right.
so
Yep.
they were they had a basis that they were going off of, and they tried to do a little bit more of an adventure style to it, I guess. Which, who knows? I would love to know if they pulled it off in a way that felt good, but this format,
Yeah.
this Switch specifically, I know they have been doing new stuff with it, or they've remastered it now, and I have to imagine that they've had to have done dual stick.
Oh, if they didn't, they're
Like,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of like, remember it had the like reinvention too around the PlayStation 3 era. I'm sure they took a dual stick at that point. I never played that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, what would you give this thing then on the Byron Burn scale?
I'm basing this off of the Switch as I've played on the eShop, and I have to give it a burn. It's unplayable, I think. And even if you do, you're just hating yourself to do it. This is not a good time for anybody. I'm surprised that they went to the lengths that they did with a new app and all of this just to get Turok on here. for you to just either despise the franchise altogether or ruin your childhood if you did love it. So
yeah, that's the other thing is like, yeah, if you had nostalgia for it, this just crapped all over it, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm with you. It's a burn. It is unplayable. I mean, I tried it with a controller and not the Joy-Con. That was mildly better, but it's pretty much ruined. Like it's such a chore to like try and get anything done. And I'm not a fan of the 64 anyway, so I wasn't coming in expecting much, but holy shit, does that a bad port.
Yeah, a lot of this is even given it the benefit of the doubt of the game design and all the technical stuff involved in the game already. You know, all of that was just cut off at the knees with the controls. So
yeah, man, who would have guessed a 64 game would disappoint? It's shocking. But I guess that's another episode down, huh?
Yeah, I'm mildly curious about playing. Like, if I found, I don't wonder if there's a Steam version of this or something. If I found a version that played normal for like a couple bucks, I might be tempted to try it just for curiosity's sake.
You could probably buy it for the 64 for like $10 anymore, can't you?
Yeah,
it's gone up.
It's probably around there, but even then, I'd still want modern controls because it's even the base one is still kind of weird, you know.
Even being able, like, if it was Steam, even if they had like mouse would be ideal.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
but yeah, just being able to map keys and buttons would be pretty much the difference I think you need here.
Yep.
And sadly, that's not an option Nintendo has.
Well. Yeah, that will be another podcast in the book. You can find us on Twitter, Weekend Rental PC, and weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Geekade, doing some movie podcasts on their Patreon. We did Unfrosted, the Jerry Seinfeld classic.
Absolute banger.
We're also on Twitch. We occasionally stream out some of the games that we're playing. I think we might have ruined this show if we tried to stream Turok. So we decided against that. It's last time. I think that would have.
You're welcome.
That would have been irreparable damage. So yeah, until next time, be kind. Rewind.